Happy Halloween from Steve Patterson, Augie Garrido, Charlie Strong, and a random game day pledge. Well, it's College Crossfire. Stay tuned.
What the hell's the rest of it? Taylor's not even here to defend himself.
I'm so excited.
Good evening and welcome into our special Halloween edition of College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jeff Barker, dressed as Steve Patterson tonight, overseeing the panel here. First up, we have Peter Sblendorio, dressed as Augie Garrido. Pete, great costume, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm going to use the small ball approach tonight to get us that victory. I've been doing all these years to become the winningest coach in Crossfire history.
Sounds good. Classic Augie. Also, another great costume here in the middle. We have Reese Miller, dressed as our very own Texas football head coach, Charlie Strong. Reese, how's it going?
That's right. I feel good to be here. I feel like I resemble him pretty close. I just need about an extra 80 pounds up here. And
80 pounds of pure muscle.
That's right. And maybe a little less hair, and then I think I've got it. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think you're about 6 miles a day short, too.
Maybe so.
On the runs. But
time to put the C back in the crossfire tonight.
Definitely. Ready for that. And last but not least, we have coming in last minute, Diego Contreras. He's dressed as what is this, Diego? Give us fill us in on this costume here. We were supposed to have Harry Hoffman in. He was going to be Rick Barnes, so we were going to have all the big time head coaches. But Diego, appreciate you filling in. Fill us in on that costume now.
So I'm in the middle of rushing for my fraternity, and we just left halftime of the soccer game. A little unclear in my head right now, but my frat brothers hazed me hard today, and it's good to be with some true leaders.
Ooh. Hey, man, I like it.
You need
for the last minute costume, very well done.
Yeah.
Fellas, all great costumes here. Let's get right into it. After taking one large step forward after the win against Iowa State, the Longhorns proceeded to take one large step back this past weekend against Kansas State. Texas was shut out 23-0 for the first time since 2004. The Horns reverted back to their old selves from the beginning of the season, playing solid defense but struggling to put up points on offense. So, guys, who's the biggest person, or who's the biggest reason to blame here for Texas's struggles on offense? Pete, we'll start with you.
All right, first of all, I'm going to start off by giving a pass to my friend Charlie Strong here. I don't think it's the coaching. I think it's the players. Look, the coaches are going to put you in a position to win, and we don't know if they've done that yet. But ultimately, I think it's coming down to the players not performing. Tyrone Swoops has not been consistent enough. He looks timid in the pocket. Whenever things break down, he's quick to move his feet. He wears his confusion on his sleeve. I think the running back's been very disappointing also. After averaging almost 200 rushing yards a game last year, Malcolm Brown and Jonathan Gray have not been the same. I think if that running game is working, it would help Swoops. I think if Swoops is playing better, it would help the running game. So I think, honestly, you have to blame the entire offense.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't really understand how Malcolm Brown, the team's best rusher all season, your senior leader on offense, only gets 6 carries.
It's confusing. You would think they'd give him more a chance to get into a rhythm.
Definitely a Reese/Charlie. Let's hear from you.
Well, you guys think you're confused. I'm the head coach, and I'm confused about what's going on. But to me, this goes on several different issues. You look at Tyrone Swoops, and he just hasn't impressed me. I think he took several steps forward over the last couple of weeks and then took a major leap back against Kansas State. 13 out of 25. 106 yards, only 4 yards an attempt. That's not going to get it done against anybody, especially not a good Kansas State team. I'm going to go ahead and hurt on my my former buddy and OC at Louisville that I went ahead and brought over for some reason, Sean Watson. Been very unimpressive, not really impressed. I did like what he's done with developing Swoops, but besides that, come on, you're running a counter play on a 4th and 1, and then you run a reverse with a true freshman and trying to reverse it to a senior in Jackson Shipley. I'm sorry, just plays like that really get under my skin, and I'm not sure that the game plan, and especially not the adjustments at halftime, were what they needed to be. So I'm splitting the blame here, a little bit on my quarterback Tyrone, a little bit on my old buddy Sean.
Okay, so it's going 50-50 here. Are you using that headset to phone up to Sean, maybe give Malcolm the ball a couple more times next game?
Very, very possibly. I'm also just trying to get in touch with him, tell him to quit freaking out up there in the press box as well.
All right, Diego, what's up?
If we're gonna talk about players, I'm gonna go a little bit in the past, and I'm still gonna blame this on Mac Brown a little bit. This is kind of a little bit of a leftover of his recruiting classes, and I'm gonna be real about it. I mean, these are his guys. Swoops is his guy, a 2A quarterback that won like one game in high school. There's a lot of lack of discipline with some of these players, and I think that's the biggest finger to the point.
Fellas, any rebuttal there?
I think this team's definitely talented enough to win some more games. They won 8 games last year and made a bowl game.
And then Case McCoy at quarterback. I'm a big Case McCoy fan, but look, he's not a great quarterback.
No,
They found a way to win 8 games. Look, the group of seniors right now is the number 3 recruiting class in the nation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I realize you lost your center, you lost a couple of wide receivers, you lost a running back, you lost your 2 tackles, but I'm sorry, they're better than 3 wins right now.
The talent's there. They're not performing. That's why I'm blaming the players.
much so.
They're extremely talented.
Well, I am dressed as Steve Patterson, so right now in true form, I have to go with my man Charlie Strong.
Hey.
Pete made a similar pick to Charlie, so I'm gonna have to go with my guys that I brought in here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give Pete, Reese.
Great call, Steve. By the way, Steve, I may need more than those 3 years just to get things going.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see what we can do on that. Yeah.
Okay, talking extension already.
Hey, no more than 3 though. Guys, up next, the Horns will travel to Lubbock to take on in-state rival Texas Tech. The Red Raiders are coming off their own embarrassing performance last Saturday, where they gave up a Big 12 record, 82 points to TCU. Looking ahead to Saturday, how does Texas match up with Tech, and how will this one play out, guys? Charlie, let's start with you again.
Well, the game plan this week, folks, is so far this season, Malcolm Brown last year had 6 games over 100 yards. Jonathan Gray had 4. This year, both of those guys have a big goose egg, 0. Neither one of them have gone over 100 yards. I think this is the week that they finally get over that hump and get over the century mark. I think that's something they really need to do. But Texas Tech is a team that plays to Texas's strengths. They're not very sound defensively. Texas should be able to move the ball pretty nicely, and you look at their offensively, they're probably going to be without Davis Webb. Patrick Mahomes is not a great quarterback. They lost their best threat in Jakeem Grant down the field. So they're really going to have to make a living on the outside, and Texas has speed enough on that defense to, I think, really make a big difference and shut the Red Raiders down. Although it is a night game in Lubbock, crazy stuff always seems to happen there.
Tortillas flying everywhere.
That's right. Things will be going crazy, and you never know.
All right, Diego.
If there's one team in the Big 12 the Longhorns can score on, it's probably a team that gave up 82 points last weekend. I think the fact alone that they're 24-point favorites is absolutely crazy. Like Reese kind of touched on, this is a rivalry game. Like Charlie touched on, like Coach Strong told us.
Yeah, Charles.
Young man.
Like Coach Strong told us, it's a rivalry game out there in Texas Tech. This is always a shootout. Historically, Tech plays the Longhorns very well. So I think this is going to be high scoring. I think we're gonna get our first signature win. Honestly, I think Coach Strong is going to lead the troops out there, and we're finally going to put a stamp on a Big 12 road win.
All righty.
Yeah, we got that win against Kansas, pal. So. Maybe you were too busy at the pledge house.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't think it matches up that well, really. I really don't think it matches up that well. I do think Texas will win because I think that Texas Tech is an inferior team, talent-wise at least. But when you're talking about how you're going to win this game, I mean, you're going to have to win a shootout, right? Texas Tech, assuming Davis Webb plays, and I know he's questionable right now, but if he plays, and that's what we're talking about here, it's going to be hard to score with them. I mean, they're 10th in the league in passing yards. They have a couple of really, really good receiving weapons. Texas hasn't really shown an ability to score with anybody. They won a shootout against Iowa State, but Iowa State's offense isn't nearly as good as Tech's. I mean, Tech can really, really sling the ball, and if Davis Webb's in there, I think it's going to be a tough matchup. That being said, I do think Texas will win because I think the defense is going to be able to hold Tech down enough. But if this is an all-out shootout, the question is, do they match up well? I don't think it's the best matchup, but I do think they'll win.
So Davis Webb or not, do they win regardless?
Yeah, I mean, I think they win pretty easily if Davis Webb doesn't play.
Well,
he's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12.
Okay, real quick, we got to move on to the next question. So Pete says win regardless. Charlie, you getting it?
We're getting it done.
Getting it done, Diego?
Get it done.
All right, well, I'm going to give a point to everyone for that.
Round of points, bartender.
Texas getting it done. Let's go, guys. Moving on to the next question. We'll move away from teams fighting to become bowl eligible and take a look at college football's elite for a minute. Last night, the very first top 25 rankings from the College Football Playoff Selections Committee were released, and as expected, there was some controversy. The top 4 teams selected were Mississippi State, Florida State, Auburn, and Ole Miss in that order. So, fellas, any major objections to the rankings? Something that really surprised you? Diego?
I said it a couple weeks ago, but I still like Alabama a lot. I realize they're on the outside looking in, definitely. So as of now, I don't have any major objections so far. I think it's really a little bit too early to have objections. We still got a couple weeks for everything to play out. There's still some big matchups. We might see Mississippi and Mississippi State at home again, and I think Ole Miss might beat Mississippi State in the last week of the season. There's still too much football left to be played to really be too mad about these rankings. And
No, I agree. If you just keep winning games, and you're up there in the top 10, you're definitely going to be in at the end of the season. Pete?
You know what, Jeff? I understand that. I was appalled. I was appalled that Alabama was number 6. Number 6? They're the best team in the nation, folks. There's no doubt about it. They play offense. They have unbelievable talent across the board. Amari Cooper's the best player in college football. Top 10 defense as well. I understand they have one loss, but they're the best of the one-loss teams. They're the best of the bunch. They should be ranked no lower than 3, and I think they're going to show it as the rest of it plays out. I understand they lost one game, one possession on the road against a really, really good Ole Miss team, who I don't think necessarily should be written off. I think Ole Miss is a good team as well, but Alabama, by far, is the best team in college football in terms of talent. I thought the point of the BCS was to get the best teams in there, not just the teams with the best records, the teams who have beaten so-and-so. That's what the BCS did. I thought this college football playoff was so we can get the most talented teams and the best teams in there. That's Alabama.
Hey, true form there. Kind of sounded like Augie after a loss.
Yes, absolutely.
I was bitter that the Tide didn't get in there.
Well, I'm appalled.
Hey, so Charlie, you guys are nowhere near the top there, but
Wait, they don't take 5 loss teams? We can run the table. My big problem is having Ole Miss in there. I'm sorry, Bo Wallace is a slightly better version of David Ash, in my opinion. Ole Miss turns the ball over at a ridiculous rate. -9 in turnovers. That's not a very good number for especially a team trying to compete in the SEC. They almost lost a game to Boise State, who's not a good football team earlier in the season. Just in general, I think their defense is really spectacular, but on offense, I see them turning the ball over a lot, and I could see them losing 2 more games down the stretch to say that they're the number 4 team right now, and they would sneak in. Once again, I think it's not okay. I think Michigan State would deserve it over them. I think TCU might deserve it over them, and frankly, I think Alabama definitely would deserve the 4th spot over Ole Miss. So no Ole Miss for me.
Definitely. I don't know if I'm as sold as Pete and Diego on Alabama taking that 4th spot, but I'm going to give Reese a point on this one. It's definitely not Ole Miss. Guys, that's going to take us to the break. Coming up next, we'll start off with a Big 12, Pac-12 roundtable discussion, and the panel will tell you if it's time to worry in Seattle. Stay tuned. It's College Crossfire. Back here on College Crossfire, I've got Peter, Reese, and Diego on the show with me tonight. Here's how the score looks after round 1. We've got Peter as Augie Garrido with 2. Reese as Charlie Strong, matching his win total on the season with 3 points. And we've got Diego, the Frat Boy Game Day Pledge, with 1 point.
The tailgate.
But hey, man, still a lot of time for you to work your way up to a full active member on the show here.
Go back to the tailgate.
Even though the last 2 weeks you do have 2 back-to-back wins, you are undefeated. But guys, let's get right into it. We're going to start this block with a little round table discussion for the argument. We're going to assume that we're all in agreement here that the SEC is the best conference in college football. Stop me now if you don't agree, but I guess no objections here. So here's a topic up for discussion. Best number 2 conference behind the SEC, Big 12 or Pac-12? Pete, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got to go with the Pac-12. Now, I understand the Big 12 has a little bit more top-heavy talent right now, TCU and Kansas State. In terms of just a couple teams, Oregon's the best team out of all of them. And top to bottom, the Pac-12 is definitely the best. They have 9 teams with winning records right now, a lot of teams that are ranked. Teams like Utah have snuck up in there, Arizona State, even Washington. This is a pretty good conference. Oregon's the best of any team between the Big 12 or the Pac-12, and there's just way more depth in the Pac-12.
All right, Reese.
I try to compare the top end of the conference. I feel like it's pretty similar. You've got the several good Big 12 teams, you've got the several good Pac-12 teams, but really when you look at the bottom, the difference is in the Big 12 you have teams like Texas Tech, Iowa State, Kansas that are getting run by everybody, and then you look at the Pac-12, some of the worst teams in there right now. You've got teams at the bottom like Washington, like a Washington State, like a Cal, even USC are starting to fall towards the bottom of their division, and those are really pretty good football teams that I think would slaughter the bottom end of the Big 12, and so for me it's the Pac-12 just because top to bottom they're so much better and so much deeper than the Big 12.
Well, even when you look at the Pac-12, a team like UCLA, obviously not as good as we thought they were at the beginning of the season. But even Colorado last weekend gave them a run for their money, and Colorado is the notorious just doormat of that conference.
Right.
So, Diego, you taking the Pac-12 too?
Yeah, these guys said it best. The Big 12 has
Yeah, we did. So.
the coaches here. These are the leaders I trust on campus, and the coaches here on campus, they said it best. Some of the Big 12 schools are kind of inching towards the top, but overall, the depth of the Pac-12 is there, and it's a better conference than the Big 12.
All right, well, I know you guys are going to hate me for this, but we're giving everyone a point here. Taking a sweep on the Pac-12. I'm going to agree with you guys, too. Pac-12 a little bit better. Yeah. Just depth-wise, probably top to bottom.
Might have more points than my season win total.
Absolutely. And now World Series time now. Game 7 in progress. The Giants lead the Royals 3-2 in the top of the 6th. So, guys, this one's still definitely up for grabs. The question here, though, what's been more impressive so far? The Royals' dramatic run in September to make it into the playoffs for the first time in 29 years, followed by their ridiculous playoff performance that we know all about. Or, guys, is it the Giants looking to stake their claim as a dynasty, winning their 3rd World Series in the last 5 years? Reese, we'll start with you.
Look, the Royals' run has been just magnificent, just magical, and it's great for baseball. But you look back to 2010, just 5 years ago, and you're talking about a team that would win 3 World Series, really be a dynasty. And the crazy thing is, who was the MVP of the 2010 World Series? Edgar Renteria. Who was the starting third baseman? Juan Uribe. You've got all these different guys. Pat Burrell, Cody Ross, guys that were the big-time hitters and big-time players. Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain. Those guys are doing nothing right now for San Francisco. A lot of them not on the team, so that's what's so impressive is they have this great turnover in the roster. All these news guys come in 2012, and once again in 2014, it's an entire new set of guys, and Bochy finds a way to plug and place the guys in the right spots to be successful, and they're looking at another title.
Yeah, weird. I remember the days that Bruce Bochy was coaching the Cardinals. Or not the Cardinals, the Padres, excuse me. Diego.
In the sports world, one of the hardest things to do is establish a dynasty and establish a winning culture that sticks for a while. And whenever you're switching in and out your players in these rotations like that, like the Giants have done, it's been fun watching Kansas City play. It's been a great run, but there's nothing more beautiful to me in sports than watching a team truly establish itself as a great franchise and really get over that hump of mediocrity. And Coach Strong said it great again.
That's a great answer, kid. You're learning.
Giants?
Giants.
Pete, Giants?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Royals, and I'm the baseball expert here, right?
He just wants the point.
I'm going to go with the point. You know what? I heard these arguments. I don't even agree. Because here's why. The Giants are one of the highest paid teams in the league. They're in a big city. There's a renowned franchise. Who wouldn't want to go play there, right? They signed big free agents. Who have the Royals signed the last 5 years? Who's their big free agent been? Omar Infante?
James Shields?
James Shields was a trade, brother. But look, all I'm saying is this team has been an underdog for 20 years. They hadn't finished above 500 for like 2 decades, and now all of a sudden you have these guys like Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer busts coming together and winning it. They're just putting together an incredible run. These guys, I mean, they're doing it with relief pitching and starters who haven't been able to make rosters in years. I mean, Jeremy Guthrie starting Game 7 and they're still in it. What does that say?
Who are the Giants' big star? Angel Pagan? Was that their big free agent signing?
Look, dude.
He's a good center.
I mean, well, you know what? They were able to sign
Brandon Crawford?
About Zito. Those are. I mean, I'm talking about long term.
Because Zito is participating right now.
Because that's 1 year, but we're talking about a dynasty.
You hired Augie knows baseball.
Because Zito did so much.
Augie knows baseball.
Hey, I'm gonna say, guys, all great points here, but Pete, I will say, as dressed as Augie, you are, the oldest and the savviest guy on the panel tonight, and you are the baseball expert.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you the point here. Playing some small ball.
Yeah.
Pete's going to get the point on this one. Moving on to the NFL.
Combs.
Before we go to break, that's enough from you, Charlie. Defending champion Seattle Seahawks haven't looked great so far this year, starting 4-3. But guys, we'll just get right into it. How worried should they be in Seattle right now? Diego, we'll start with you, youngster.
I'm from the camp of not getting too scared too early on in the season. And, they barely squeaked by the Panthers last weekend, which wasn't the best sign in the world. But there are some injuries, some supposed turmoil in the locker room. So I still think it's early on in the season, and these things will they'll kind of go away. They'll get shooed out later on in the season. I don't think the panic button should be hit just yet, but there's definitely a cause for concern.
Okay, Pete.
Yeah, it's time to panic big time. This team is not making the playoffs. When you look at their roster, I understand what they did last year, but you look at their roster. In the last 6 months, they've lost Golden Tate and they lost Percy Harvin. Those are their 2 big downfield threats. Now they have Curse and Doug Baldwin starting at receiver. That's not good enough for a playoff team. You have Russell Wilson, who's a good quarterback, but he's somebody that hasn't really been asked to win a lot of games on his own lately. The offensive line's okay. Tight end is weak. Then you look at defense, they've lost depth along the offensive line. They've lost depth in the secondary. This is not the same team as last year, folks. I know you guys want them to be the same team as last year. They're not. They've lost a ton of depth. They lost their weapons, and they're in the hardest division in football, arguably. You just look at this team. That's not a playoff team. What stands out about them? They have an okay secondary without much depth. I mean, they have 2 really, really good players in the secondary. The depth in that defense is not the same as last year, and the offense has 0 weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the championship pedigree from last year, I think they can still probably make the playoffs. But I agree. I mean, the biggest thing that's hurt them this season is not having that depth. I mean, you saw it last year. They had tons of defensive linemen, tons of linebackers, even guys in the secondary, the entire defense,
right,
that they could shuttle in and out of there and just destroy teams and come at them all game long.
And they're supposed to be unbeatable at home. They've lost at home. You can't run against them. Teams have run against them the last couple of weeks. Just saying.
Okay, Charlie?
It's time to go back inside the headset here. You got to be concerned. Since Washington on Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson has not made very many impressive throws. And like you said, he doesn't have a whole lot of guys to throw to. 2 of their 3 losses have come on the road, so they still have that big home field advantage that I really believe in plays a big part. But really the thing for me is I think 2 teams come out of the East to make the playoffs, and 2 teams might come out of the North. You look at Detroit and Green Bay, and then you look at the division there, and the Cardinals have the best team in the NFC, folks. Going back to last year, combine the 2 records, they're the 4th best team in the NFL. You also got the Niners who are going to put a good run in there, so it's going to be really tough for them, I believe, to make the playoffs as well, just because I think the Cowboys and the Eagles make it. I think the Lions and the Packers make it as well.
So no playoffs? No playoffs?
No.
Playoffs?
Panicking way too early. Playoffs.
On what basis?
Come on.
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna give the older guys a point here. I agree, maybe a little bit too early to panic. Still think they can make the playoffs. Yeah, but
I'll see you in a few weeks, coaches.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
All right, go back to the tailgates, Junior.
Okay, well, Pete and Reese gonna take the point on this one. Guys, up next, it's our rapid fire round, and judging by this panel tonight, I think it should be a good one. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back here on College Crossfire. Thanks for sticking with us tonight on the show. Here's how the score looks after the first 2 rounds. We got our 2 savvy veterans here, the older guys on the panel, leading with 5, and we got Diego, the youngster, but also, hey man, you're still undefeated on the show, and we really appreciate you coming back. He's got 2 points right now, so it's 5-5-2, guys. First rapid fire of the night. Diego, know you're going to kill me for leaving this one out until the last round, but we'll get right into it with some NBA talk. Now, season kicked off last night with the Spurs getting a W, Kobe returning to regular season play. So let's start off with a little season preview here. I want to know your top teams in each conference. Anybody jump in real quick. Let's go. Top teams in each conference.
Chase for SEIS. I'm excited basketball's back, first of all. But in the Western Conference, these guys don't care so much. But in the Western Conference, the Spurs, Los Spurs are going to make a big push, big run to repeat.
Really went out on a limb there.
Yeah, not much of a limb there. Not much of a fingers there. The other team, my sleeper team I really like in the Western Conference right now still is the Golden State Warriors. Andrew Bogut was injured for a lot of last season, and I think if he comes back, I think he's able to come back healthy this year and stay healthy. I think this team can really make a push, especially with Reggie Jackson getting hurt early on. That's going to kind of hurt the Thunder early, push the Golden State up in the rankings. Eastern Conference, you gotta love the Chicago Bulls with Pau Gasol up there. Pau Gasol he was playing bad basketball in LA because he was a little frustrated. His ego was a little hurt because of what was happening behind the scenes. He was supposed to be traded in the Chris Paul trade, so he was upset about that. I also like Cleveland Cavaliers arguably have the 3 best players at each position in the NBA. Love the Cavs. Cavs Bulls, Spurs Warriors.
Let's just say you would be heading to the pit with Pat Moore after that. I'm going to go ahead and make it short and sweet. I take the Clippers. I think they're going to make a big jump this year. Hey, Chris Paul's the best point guard in the league. Best point guard in the league.
Same team every year, though.
Same team every year. Gotten better. Doc's going to get it done. Blake Griffin has taken major steps. He's got a bit of a jump shot now. Clippers, Cavs, Cavs over the Clippers in 7. Mark it.
Can I say one thing? One thing I'm really tired of is everybody saying Cleveland's going to have to get adjusted, as if Chicago isn't. They have tons of new players. Cleveland's the best team, guys. They have LeBron, they have Love, they have Kyrie, they have Varejao, who plays some defense. They have Dion Waiters, who scored 16 last year. Tristan Thompson.
I love defense.
You know, that is an unbelievable team. That team can score. They can play some D. LeBron will lock up with anybody.
They have a television screen
and you know
on the floor.
I like the Thunder. I know they're going to have a low record this year. When Durant comes back, count me in. I love the star power.
Alrighty, well, guys, I think I'm going to give Diego the 2 points on this one.
Why did he talk for 20 minutes?
Kind of took up all the time there, but, you know, he's
I
the
love
basketball
defense.
guy on the panel.
I love defense.
Hey, come on, old fellas here. Let's throw the rookie a bone a little bit.
All right.
We're going to have a 5-5-4.
Not on my team.
That's how the scoreboard's going to look going into the final question. And in honor of the dramatic fall classic that we've seen between the Royals and the Giants, we're going to finish with a little, we're going to take a look at some of the greatest moments in World Series history. So, guys, you know, before we stop caring about baseball for an entire 11 months, let's give it some more love.
Speak for yourself.
Greatest World Series moments, go.
All right. I don't think there's any doubt about this. It's Joe Carter in the 1993 World Series. Hits the walk-off home run, the only walk-off home run to end a game. Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run than that. By far the best World Series moment.
Okay.
I'll take a call that started it all, started one that broke my heart. 1991 Kirby Puckett Game 6, the original. We will see you tomorrow night, Twins. They went on to win in Game 7, 1991. I'll take Twins and Kirby Puckett.
Okay, the original, we'll see you tomorrow
That's
night.
right.
Not the one
That's
that
right
broke
from
your
Josh.
heart.
That's not that one. We don't want to talk about that.
All right.
It's been a long day for me at the tailgate, honestly, and I can't muster up much memory at this point. Some of the things my frat brothers did to me. So I just want to be with Coach Augie here, and I think Augie knows.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I've watched a lot of baseball in my day. Never hit a bigger home run than that.
Well, so it's between Augie and Coach Strong here. Can we get a little love from the audience? Anyone?
Put the C back in Charlie!
Let's hear it from the producers real quick. Anyone? Okay, so we want the best impersonation or the best quote from your character, and that's what's gonna seal it. That's what's gonna win it tonight here on the show.
I'm sorry. All right.
I don't think I can say it on air, probably, but you know, Augie's a colorful guy. But I'm going to say this, all right? What are we going to learn tonight, guys? What are we going to learn from this? If you lose a game, that's fine. It's one game. It's one game. It's a long season. What are you going to learn from this? We're about getting better, making strides, learning, and taking the next step. This is a championship team. You need to learn how to play together, and you need to learn how to love the sport.
Okay, I like it. Charlie?
It's time to put the program back on the map. We're going to go forward like it's 4th and 1. We're going to put the T back into Texas. We're going to get the program. We're going to take over the state.
All right, hey, those are all very solid. I think I'm gonna have to go with the guy that's been here a little bit longer. I think I'm gonna have to go with Augie on this one.
Once again, Little Red Mahomes in the building.
Call me out for the Red Mahomes. Pete, sorry, we're not gonna have any time for your FaceTime tonight. But hey, guys, Peter, Reese, Diego, awesome show tonight, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for celebrating Halloween Texas style for us. That's all the time we're going to have for tonight's show. We thank you guys for tuning in to the special Halloween episode. Hope you enjoyed the costumes. As always, we'll be back here, same time, same place next week. For everyone in the studio, Master Control, the panel, and myself, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.